She stuffed some clothes in her car, drove across the country, and lived in her car, showering at a gym, got a job at a call center, and from there rebuilt her life. Use some money to get a burner phone. Keep it hidden away where the person can find it. Use library computers to look up resources such as emergency housing. You can even ask the librarian to help you since they probably have no connection to the person, unless you live in a small town. Get as much of your personal records as possible: birth certificate, SSN, medical records, and lastly your passport and driver's license. I would recommend that the person who helps you should be someone who doesn't know the person who you are getting away from. Give them a picture of the person and all the other information like their car license plate number, make and model, as well as the person's phone number. A good cover-up story of why you know each other is a book club or something like that. Never tell abuser where you are meeting up. When your abuser isn't home, take as much of your things that you would absolutely need out of the house, with receipts if possible, that wouldn't be noticeable, and try to store it away in a cheap storage unit if you can afford it. Only take essentials, things that you know you might need to survive on your own. If you suspect that your abuser has tracked your phone or other things, obey them when you finally leave. During the time of planning, try to keep as much money hidden away as possible. If possible, have a trusted individual make a separate bank account for you and store the money away until you can get away. After you leave, contact the courthouse and file a restraining order against the abuser with all evidence. There are many organizations that can help you get away from an abuser. Good luck. Not exactly relevant because I was a surprise helper to someone. But be prepared to get them away as soon as possible. I was at a friend's house one night and an old acquaintance from school showed up. Not knowing my friend didn't drive, she asked if she could get a ride somewhere. Friend told her she didn't drive and her boyfriend was out. Sorry. When she said she was trying to get away from an abusive relationship, but it was okay, she'd figure it out, I went to the door and told her I'd take her. It was late at night, a bit of a drive, and she didn't really have any gas money, but I told her no problem. The important thing was to get her out. So, we piled into my car and I drove her 30 miles to the nearest place that had a bus leaving within an hour. She'd been squirreling away money and had a chance that night to look up a bus schedule while he was gone. She packed one bag and walked out, going to the person's house she thought of first. Just to make sure, we stayed until we knew she had her ticket and would be safe. We said our goodbyes and I haven't talked to her since. But I do know she got to where she was going, and he didn't find her. It's honestly one of the most important things I've ever done in my life. So, yeah, if she comes to you at an inconvenient time and says she's ready to leave right now, leave right now. It might be her only chance. Stash money away in a secret place, or with a very, very trusted friend. $2, $5, anything. Put it away, and forget about it. Inside a mattress, inside a pair of shoes, in a tampon box. Anywhere they won't look. Take photos of every event in secret and put it in an album in your Facebook marked private, and delete photos of your phone. No one can see what you post in the Facebook album marked private. Try to get them, without being at all obvious, to admit over email or text. Abusers always have a cycle of abusing, then apologizing. Get them to do it via text. Screenshot it, save it to the same private Facebook photo folder. I couldn't leave my abuser, and had always threatened to kick me out if I ended things. So he had power over me. So I stashed money, and moved the hell out. I apartment hunted via online from work, and took an hour off work to go look at them. So he was none the wiser. He confessed everything in an email trying to apologize to get me back. I took it to my victim advocate and filed a restraining order through the court. Someone replied, "Do not stash cash. Cash can be stolen easily. Plus, then it looks like you are planning an escape, or hiding money from an abuser, if he or she finds it when they go through your stuff." You can go to any currency exchange or pharmacy or grocery store and buy what are called stored value cards. These look like credit cards, but can actually be used just like a credit or debit card to get cash from an ATM. You can exchange cash for a stored value card. They are reloadable, so you can keep putting money on them, and a single card is much less suspicious and easier to hide. If found, you can always say it's an old credit card. They can be hidden in shoes, bras, etc. because they are flat, lightweight and not bulky like cash, and you don't have to worry about accidentally getting them wet. Someone else replied, "When I hid money, I kept it in a hidden envelope with Christmas money written on it. My plan was, if my ex found it and confronted me, I'd say I was saving up to surprise him with a new Xbox, or whatever, that he'd been saying that he wanted." I highly recommend doing something similar. Things that helped me a lot after and during leaving. Have the police involved. They did a domestic standby for me, which means I could get my things in peace. Don't be alone. I stayed with a friend the first few weeks and she had to talk me down from going back to him, and remind me of all the awful things he'd done multiple times a day. Go no contact. They can be so manipulative and you are in a vulnerable state right now. You don't need to see that. Change all passwords, and have a tech-savvy person look over your electronic devices for trackers, key lodges, etc. Let as many people know as you feel comfortable with. So many people helped me out, but if they don't know they can help. Also, for me personally, telling my story was therapeutic. I was silenced for so long, it was extremely relieving to speak freely and truthfully. Good luck, love. Make sure you know where things are, like paperwork you'll need. Keep things nicely organized in a way that when it's time to pack you know where it's all at, and can do it in like 10 minutes. If you have kids, do not leave them with the abuser. He can and will use them to hurt you and can file custody saying you abandoned them. It is very important that you let their school or daycare know what's going on and take him or anyone in his family off the emergency contacts or pickup list. Tell your school or place of work what's going on too. Your co-workers, babysitters and teachers need to know what's up and see a photo of him. Make sure you're able to stay hidden. Meaning, try not to do unnecessary public activities for a while. Always have at least one person with you at all times when going grocery shopping or whatever. If possible, change doctor's offices etc., so he can't stalk and wait for you there. Don't forget to remove him from any emergency contacts lists. If you usually go to Walmart, switch to a different grocery, possibly in a different town. Arm yourself. If you aren't comfortable with a gun, fine. Try a nightstick, baton, knife, pepper spray. My dad says wasp spray is better, a stun gun, or those self-defense key rings that go on your fingers or between them. Don't park your car anywhere visible and always check the back seat, bed of the truck, etc. Always ask someone to walk you to your vehicle. Keep weapons in there and on your keys. If you're escaping to a location he knows of, always check locks on doors and windows, stay armed when possible, don't leave identifiers outside like your car or kids' toys. Don't open the door for anyone you're not expecting. Also, file police reports and get a protective order. They don't always do much, but at least you'll have a paper trail. Not the target of the question but passionate about helping. If you are employed, be sure to engage your leader or HR department. A lot of reputable companies have policies to support domestic violence victims, however most people don't know about them or are too embarrassed to use them. Our company provides emergency funding for rent and bonds. I had a storage unit. I slowly moved things there, a little at a time so he wouldn't notice. I made copies of all papers and keys and kept them in the unit. I talked to the police ahead of time and told them the situation, so they knew of my number and showed up to come right away. I also recorded the abuse without the abuser knowing and had proof for the prosecutor. He ended up with a felony because I had proof. I stashed away about $5,000 a little bit at a time. I was always the one to buy groceries, and I found that I could get cash back of $40 to $60 and it would go unnoticed. Every little bit of money I put away in there felt like freedom getting closer. I grew happier and more hopeful with each deposit, and when I had enough for deposit and rent it for new place, plus a little extra for an emergency fund, I knew I was finally free. I finally called him out on his crap without fear of being homeless or forced to stay in that miserable place, and have since had literally the happiest year of my life. My mother did it when I was a kid. My stepfather was a nasty piece of work but a smart bastard. The most important thing is to communicate. The victim needs to let some people know, have all the facts. Friends, trusted people, family, police, associations, anyone. That's a form of safety. Violence and abuse don't like being put into the light. Abusers use shame and secrecy to keep control. Be sure to warn the police of the situation, not in an emergency call, just go meet them and explain what's happening and what you plan to do. They got ways to help. Before doing anything, it's a good idea to set up a free email, Dropbox or other online clouds and put online every legal document, paperwork or anything useful. Goal is to leave the smallest amount of control in the hands of the abuser. Money is another form of control. Stashing money or having a secured income can help. My mom just borrowed money from friends and family. Now, as the helper, you got to know that there's several things that can make someone hesitate: fear, shame and feeling helpless. You help people by being understanding, by removing all things that can prevent the person to actually go away. That can be helping to find a new job, a place to crash, money, safety. Your job, if you're willing to help, is just to be pragmatic and offer solutions. The victim is often too deep in an emotional roller coaster to think clearly, and if she's overwhelmed, she can make mistakes. Have a new phone number and email address ready to use. Have people you can go to who your partner doesn't know where they live, etc. This can be work friends or through a women's shelter. Tell your employer what is going on so they can ensure you have time off, support, and make sure no one lets on where you are. Delete all social media accounts so they can't find you. Delete and block their numbers so you can't contact them when you have a moment of weakness. Be very selective what friends you tell where you've moved to. If possible, only tell one at a time, a week apart, so if he does randomly show up you know who let you down. Tell the police before you leave. Most police forces have a way of helping you get out. They can also put your contact details on a TED alert list. So if they get a call from your number they know to blue light it. Have someone you can call when you have the urge to call your abuser, and you will want to at some point. It's just your brain playing tricks on you. Speak to them about how you feel and get it off your chest. Stay strong and avoid drugs and alcohol for a bit. This is one drunk dial you don't want to make. I've helped 2 friends leave their abusive partners.